Welcome back, everybody, to We Talk Film. I am your host, as always, Barry, joined, as always, by Clayton. How you doing, Clayton?
Hello, Barry. I am doing great. And do you want to know why I'm doing great, Barry?
Why are you doing so great today?
Because we're doing another episode of the podcast. Ooh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Look at us go. Getting to episode number 41 now. We're in the 40s. That's a lot of episodes.
Count that high. Jesus Christ.
Get me a drink and then maybe I can.
I feel like, that might be the other way around, but I don't know, Barry. You're a unique individual.
I'm pretty strange. I'm pretty wacky. But on today's episode, unfortunately, we have no news.
Nothing happened.
Nothing happened whatsoever. Just absolutely nothing. If you hear about something, it didn't happen. It's all false. It's false information.
It was all made up.
We're all
living in a simulation. And do you want to know why we're living in a simulation, Barry?
Why are we living in a simulation?
That's a segue to probably one of the movies we'll be talking about today, because today we're talking about the best films of the 1990s. We've nearly made it through our list of decades.
Getting there. We're getting there.
2 more to go. Maybe
3 more to go,
if we take our time.
We'll see how we go. Take our time. Do like 2020s. It's like, yeah, okay. So what, we're doing this podcast in 2030? Damn.
Jesus. Oh, God, no. I hope not.
We'll see. We'll come back and do a reunion episode.
I'll do that, but I'm not continuing this.
I'll just be a skeleton.
7 years. Yeah, you'll be dead.
Yeah.
We'll all be old.
Yeah, you will.
We'll be getting our guests on at the nursery home. Today we've got Tyson.
What's going on? Why am I here?
Oh, man. That'll be great. Yeah, we're doing 90s films. Do you remember what happened in the 90s, Barry?
Oh, I remember everything that happened in the 90s, Clayton, because I obviously was there. I was around. You know, this makes me feel like an old man because I actually was around in the 90s.
I did not see the 90s, I will say.
Yeah.
I was born 3 years too late.
Can I actually remember the 90s? No, but I was there.
You were there. Things happened. A bunch of movies
A bunch of really good movies came out. So what we obviously do here every single decade, how we select them, how we do them, we basically do them as a draft pick. So we basically try and match one another out, who has the better list. Clayton keeps track of what we say because I cannot keep track of our lists whatsoever. And yeah, hopefully we'll see who the better man wins after the list is done.
Man. We'll just see what happens. Yeah, we'll
see what happens. All right, so what's the guitar pick this time? the
same one.
The same one.
It sits next to my cupboard, and I always forget to get like a coin or something, so it gets used. Unless you want me to flip this piece of cardboard instead.
We'll swap it out for a piece of cardboard today. Man, we're getting real low standards.
The crappy side of the cardboard or the cleaner side of the cardboard?
I'll take the crappy side of the cardboard.
All right. It was the crappy side of the car. It didn't flip. It just landed on the crappy side. So you win, Barry. You get to decide.
All right. I'm going to go first this time because I think last time you went first. So yeah. We'll change it up a bit. So yes, we're talking about 90s films, a whole decade of amazing films that actually I can say I probably like a lot of the 90s films that we'll say on this list are movies that I've watched like more than 20 times just because like that's what I grew up the most as a kid and everything like that.
Yep.
A lot more because it was like still kind of recent for me and stuff like that. So but the first film that I am going to get onto my list before you snatch it away from me is a film that came out in the dawn of the decade of 1990, a little film called Goodfellas. I'm taking that one out straight away. But yes, what a phenomenal film done by obviously Martin Scorsese and Robert De Niro, Ray Liotta, Joe Pesci, a whole bunch of other people that have been in all mob films throughout the century, and it's probably still the greatest gangster film ever made. Like it is phenomenal.
100%.
Like it is. Every now and again, I'll go back and watch it, and it's just like, damn, like nothing comes close to this. Not even close.
No. It's on another level. It's Scorsese's best. It's like Ray Liotta's best. It's probably Joe Pesci's best, apart from, I don't know, Home Alone. Like,
And he did that
this
in the
movie,
same year.
yeah, exactly. Like, this movie here is insane. It is, yeah, it's the best gangster film ever made. I mean, what else can you say about it that hasn't been said other than it's the greatest gangster film ever made? If you haven't seen Goodfellas and you
Go
like
watch
gangster movies,
Goodfellas.
you obviously don't like gangster movies because you haven't seen Goodfellas, right?
Yep.
Like, it's awesome. It's also got a really great soundtrack.
Oh yeah.
Incredible film.
Yep.
I'm looking at the cover for things
You're
to
looking at the
say.
cover. No, that's the
I
it's
do that
absolutely
now.
like this. It's a masterclass of all films. It's definitely my favorite Scorsese film of all time.
Oh yeah, for sure.
For sure. And it was just like peak performance by everyone in it. Just the actual story you follow behind it all is like what you think a mob gangster thing would be like about and
Yeah.
everything like that. The only one like
Yep.
other movie I put this on par with is Godfather. Probably
Yeah,
part two,
I feel
part one.
like they're very different films.
Yeah, well,
though.
that's the
Even
thing.
though
They're different
they're both
types of gangster
films.
films
I
in a
like
way.
them
Like,
both for different
yeah,
reasons. Yeah.
because Godfather's like earlier gangster. This is much more recent. Like, well, it is like
Yeah.
80s or something. I think 85
It's
it's
set
set
in
in.
the year. Oh, I think it's set in the year because like he has like a cell phone. I'm pretty
Oh,
sure it's
okay.
set when it's set, or at least if not just before, because it
Yeah,
is
yeah.
based on a true story. And then of course Godfather is a bit more fairy tale with its aspects and telling of the mob, whereas
Yes,
Goodfellas is
yeah.
pretty goddamn realistic. I mean, it is based on a true story with some real accounts from people, but it's it's also of course it's exaggerated and dramatized
Yeah,
in its
yeah,
own way.
as they always
But
are.
it's so good and it's
It is
great.
great. It's
And yeah,
phenomenal. Go watch it. Go watch it
go watch
right
it
now. Actually, pause the
right
podcast.
now.
Go watch Goodfellas. Then come
There is a
back and then listen to the rest of our
there is
list.
a helicopter following you around, and it's waiting for you to watch this film. It is there. Don't believe me? Go outside. You'll see it.
You'll see it right now. And Martin Scorsese's
Following
looking
you
at you.
around.
He's following you around.
He's
He's in the helicopter. He is the helicopter.
Ah.
All right,
Oh
Clayton.
boy.
What is going to be your number one pick for tonight?
Okay. Number one pick, and this was a really hard list to put together. I have a list of about 40 films from the 90s that I
Damn.
put down, and I want to pick because they're all really good. But there's a couple of quintessential films that you kind of have to grab straight away. Goodfellas was one of them, and probably the other biggest one is a little film from 1994, written and directed by Quentin Tarantino, starring John Travolta, Samuel L. Jackson, Uma Thurman. It's called Pulp Fiction. It's like one of the most iconic films of all time.
Oh, it most certainly is.
Ever. People aged like 4 to 400 know this film. It's insanely well praised. And
Yep.
it's insanely worth it because it is a great movie. It is some of the best dialogue ever written in a film. It's got
Oh, yeah.
another great soundtrack, as all of the Tarantinos do. There was fucking other ones that I wanted to put on this list that are on my list, but I probably won't pick because I'll stick to the one per filmmaker because I'm classy like that. But yeah, no, Pulp Fiction. Yeah, there's a reason people put it as their favorite film of all time. It's great.
No, it is a phenomenal film. I think that was the first ever Tarantino film I watched growing up.
Ooh, I watched Reservoir Dogs first, and I think personally, I prefer Reservoir Dogs, but Pulp Fiction is the better movie. It is like Pulp Fiction is probably the best movie from the 90s, in my opinion. Even though they're films that I prefer, this is
it's well orchestrated. Such an amazing cast. Like I'm pretty sure this is what put like Samuel L. Jackson from just being a background character to being like one of the main mans in Hollywood.
Yeah, it's John Travolta's best performance.
Yep.
Uma Thurman, it's probably my favorite one of hers as well.
Yes, yep.
I prefer Kill Bill as well, but like Bruce Willis is like he's
That's
also
right.
great in
Yeah,
this.
he's also great. He was also in
Dead's
that.
dead, baby. It's such a great movie, and every single second of it is spent just in filled with enjoyment and entertainment. I don't think there's a wasted moment in this film.
Oh no, definitely not. Definitely not.
That's my number one.
That's your number one. That's a very good number one. All right, so now we get into the middle ground territory.
Yeah.
The ones where we can kind of get crazy with it all and see what we got out there.
Get wacky.
You gotta get wacky. Okay, I
bit.
might get a little bit wacky. Going back to 1998. Wow, what an amazing year! A very important person was made in that year. Going to 1998. Actually done by Australian filmmaker. I'm pretty sure. The Truman Show.
Yes, Peter Weir.
Yes, Peter Weir. That's right. Yeah. I actually watched this again the other day. This is one of those films where I will go back and watch once every couple of months. It is phenomenal. I think this is my favorite Jim Carrey film he's ever done personally. And just the actual story to it all, because this is the thing, this is late 90s, so this is just before the cusp of the wide world web and like all social media and stuff like that. And it's kind of weird to like watch this movie and then realize, oh, wait a minute, all this stuff's kind of happening now, what they basically do in this movie. And then I was actually watching like a behind the scenes of it all as well the other day on how they set up that the cinematographer they had for it. He was going like, so basically like how he wanted to position the cameras was like if you were hiding cameras from Truman. Yeah. That's how they went about it. It
feels like it. They
and
literally
did it. Every single shot like feels like that. Yeah.
Mm.
So it felt so natural and just like nonchalant. It's just kind of weird. Like there was this film made back already in the 90s, and then this is like now everyone just does it on their phone and has their webcams in their rooms. Like you got all live streamers now that like just keep constantly filming themselves, and it's just like it's so surreal type of movie. Whoa, that's getting meta. But it's just like it's an absolute wonderful film with a wonderful story. Definitely, Jim Carrey's one of his biggest performances. Well, he was a lot in the 90s. That was like his thing. His definitely decade. The 90s. But you got to see like the both contrasts of his acting in this film. You got to see like the real deep dark part where he could go and then be like also crazy and sporadic as like he was in all of the other films. So yes, The Truman Show will be my second pick.
This is a great movie. This is my favorite Jim Carrey performance as well, because it's not the wackiness of The Mask or like Dumb and Dumber or something. Like it's very dramatized, and I love that when he does that because he does that really well as being the quirky character, but not to that extent. It feels like a real person put in this situation. And it's also like one of the greatest Australian films. Like you said, it was directed by an Australian. Yes. I love seeing that. And and you know, good morning, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Because my second film is also by an Australian director, Gregor Jordan, starring Heath Ledger, Brian Brown, and Rose Byrne from 1999. It is probably one of my favorite Australian, like full Australian films ever made. It's called Two Hands. And this film put Heath Ledger on the map. This is my favorite Heath Ledger performance because I love this movie so much. I think he's better in this than he is as the Joker, and I'm gonna get shot for saying that. But
you are gonna get shot for saying that. Someone tonight is gonna go to your house in Northern and fucking shoot you.
But it is a great film. It is a classic. It's a cult classic, probably by all accounts of the word. But it is definitely an Australian classic. It puts a twist on the whole mobster crime story in such a really unique way, and not that many people have seen it. Despite it being like one of the best Australian films, not even that many Australian people have seen it. Because, it doesn't get that much attention. Not many people are talking about this film, and that's part of the reason that I wanted to pick it as my second one. Because I think more people need to see this.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, like that's the thing, like I totally forgot about it, like that it was from the 90s and everything like that. I just totally forgot about the film until you said it, because that's the thing, I haven't watched that probably for like 15 years, man.
And it's still really good. It still holds up really well. It holds up even better on like subsequent watches, I think.
Nice, it's just good. Nice.
You just get it. It's nice.
You just get it. You just get what,
works.
Okay, it works, and that's all you need it to do. Is it just works?
It just
works,
no,
you're definitely going to get shot now by people in Australia being like, if that's Heath Ledger's best performance. Duck and cover, Clayton. Duck and cover. All right. Well, on to my number 3 then.
Yes.
Man, there's so many films from the 90s where I'm just
I don't know
like,
where to start.
yeah,
Do we
there's so many like just hard hitting ones. Okay, I'm
movies?
going to go one for that I think is definitely one of the best well written movies that I have very high on my list, and it also has one of the best acting performances by Robin Williams in it. I am talking
Yes.
about 1997's Good Will Hunting. Obviously, very well known, written by Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, starring
Your
Matt Damon.
best friends. Yeah.
Yeah, best friends. And this movie is simply wonderful to watch. Every single time I watch this film, I am just in awe of how well this was put together. And that's the thing, at the end of the day, they were film students, and like somehow they managed to get Robin Williams in their film because he was also from Boston and was like a friend of their friend or whatever. Like that just worked out so weird, but it turns out to be one of the best films I ever made type thing, just because of how well written the story is of Matt Damon's character, and then having Robin Williams' performance as like the side character. Because I'm pretty sure he got Oscar nominated
at that point.
as well for it.
Yeah, because they film won.
Yeah, they got.
Well,
I know for the writing, they both got
that's right.
Oscar.
Yeah.
And then I'm pretty
sure he would have been nominated at least.
Oh yeah, no, he would have had to be. Because just that one scene where he's like, "It's not your fault. It's not your fault," and that's the thing. It's meant to be this like kind of surreal scene where they're having a nice conversation, they're laughing one another's heads off. Because a lot of his lines as well in this movie, as every other Robin Williams film, is improvised. Like a majority of it all is improvised and stuff like that. And then like it has this really emotional scene to it. And you're just like, holy shit, like every single time I watch it, like it gets you in the feels. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Watching that scene.
It is a really heartfelt, clever movie, and it's so well written. The screenplay I'd recommend to anyone just to read from a storytelling perspective, even if you don't really like the film, because I've only seen this once, and I only watched it recently. At the start of this year was the first time I'd seen it. I'd finally gotten around to watching it, and I was pleasantly surprised because everybody hyped it up, and I was like, come on, how good can it be? And then I watched it. I'm like, you know what? I get it.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Like, really how many websites and stuff like that? It's like always in like the top 100 like films of all time. And that's the thing. It's just like so surreal, like to you and I, because obviously we're still studying to be filmmakers and everything like that. And this is where kind of Matt Damon and Ben Affleck were in the same position as we were, and they wrote this, and then that's what spiked their careers off. Was this film?
Literally.
Matt Damon, Ben Affleck. So I'm Ben Affleck. I'm definitely Ben Affleck.
That makes me Matt Damon. I'll be Jason Bourne.
I get J-Lo.
Okay, and I get to be Jason Bourne. Like, who's the loser in this situation? Barry. I was in The Martian as well. That's cool.
That's cool. Yeah, you were in The Martian. You're definitely in the better films. That's for sure.
Yeah, but you Batman, so that's true. Got me there. But then you also get to be Daredevil, so that's like...
Yeah, we don't talk about that.
Oh, God. Yeah, that's a good third pick. It wasn't on my list.
That's good.
That you brought it up. Which is, considering I've got so many, is
I'm a big Ben Affleck fan, and you know that. And I was actually the other night watching two of his films back to back. I watched Jersey Girl and Paycheck, and I was like, I forgot how depressing Jersey Girl begins. Like it literally starts with his wife dying.
Spoilers, anyway.
Spoilers for Jersey Girl.
I thought you were going to say that you were watching two Ben Affleck films at the same time, and I was
at the exact same time I was watching Paycheck and Jersey Girl.
That would be really weird.
I should actually put all of his films up at the same time. How could I do that?
Figure that out, because that sounds like it would be a really unique experience.
It definitely would.
Oh, God. Oh, yeah. All right. So now it comes back to me for my number 3. Oof. I think
you're just going to go on your shelf and just be like, oh, that's from the 90s.
That's what I did. I do that now because
it's so good that you have like a good collection of DVDs and stuff like that, just like, so you can see your arsenal. Yeah. It could
never
be
good
more.
enough.
It always could be more.
It always could be more. And okay, I know what I'm gonna pick. I'm gonna have to pick this film, and this film is from probably my favorite set of directors ever. Like the two people who directed this film, the two brothers who directed this film. There's your clue. It
Yep.
are what I aspire to be. They're what I aspire to write. Like everything that I write takes a lot of subconscious inspiration from these guys because I enjoy all of their films so much. So
Yep.
of course, I'm going to have to start it off by picking 1998's The Big Lebowski.
Big Lebowski.
Their
Yeah.
absolute masterpiece. I've got it in a little
That
slip
is.
sleeve. His glasses glow. They're shiny. They're a different
Oh,
material.
that's cool.
You can see that on the YouTube. That's our promotion for the YouTube. You get to see Jeff Bridges' glasses flicker.
Why
in the light.
not? Let's just have a picture of Jeff Bridges 24/7 on the YouTube side of things. This entire episode, what I should do is edit like a little Jeff Bridges is in the corner this entire time.
He's doing a little dance. You should
don't get too fancy.
hand draw every frame of that.
I'm not hand drawing it. Already been hand drawing enough today.
Super bad main menu where it's 1 hour of Michael Cera dancing. It'll be like that, but just for Jeff Bridges. Every dance move will be unique. No, but this film, I'd say it's my favorite of theirs, but that's a hard decision. I'm not actually
that's really
sure
hard. That's really hard.
Because I love all of their films, and I'm probably going to pick several more on this list.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's definitely my favorite, like Jeff Bridges film, and definitely in my top two out of the Coen Brothers.
John Goodman film, honestly.
Yeah, that's right. John Goodman's in this as well. It's such an amazing cast.
He's on the back. He's the main guy on the back of the slipcover because this film is awesome. Steve Buscemi kills in it. Everyone. What's his name? The cowboy dude. He's awesome. This is his favorite thing. This set him in stone. And it's also a film about nothing, really.
Yes. Yes, that's the whole point. A lot of their films are literally about nothing. Like nothing results at the end. And that's why I love the Coen Brothers movies. Yeah.
The screenplay for The Big Lebowski, I've read multiple times.
That would be cool. That would be cool.
So well written. The Coen Brothers have a weird screenplay writing style. It's not quite that easy to follow. A lot of things are like seemingly just for them. Like if there's an off-screen voice, it'll be titled as just voice. It won't be a character or anything. It's really confusing to read.
Yep.
But it's also really well done. You're like,
nice.
I don't know. They probably have a separate planning thing so they can keep track of who's talking or doing shit. But
maybe.
No, probably. And I'd love to one day talk to them about that. But until we're rich and famous and we're hanging out with the Coen Brothers, I'm just going to sit here and enjoy their movies, like The Big Lebowski, which is a film about nothing, yet about everything at the same time. And I highly recommend it to literally everyone.
Yes.
Watch it over and over. It is great. So yeah, Big Lebowski is my number 3.
Big Lebowski. Damn, that is a Big Lebowski, because that is an amazing film. Okay, so on to my number 4 then. All right, I'm just gonna I'm gonna start counting down. So my last one had Robin Williams in it, so I'm gonna continue with that actor because he made some amazing films in the 90s. He made this one in 1999 called Bicentennial Man. A small little film that he did with Sam Neill and like a range of other actors going throughout it, where he basically is a robot trying to become a man. It's basically Pinocchio, but in the future, and it is still so well done. Like for like the whole Pinocchio storytelling of like science fiction things and how things go with all that, I put this as like how they did it as like number 1, if not on par with like Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio film, because just like the meaning behind the story and showing it in the way they did, and then also having Robin Williams' performance in it as well, just brought it to a whole new like level. It's definitely like the best live action version, I would say, like of that the Pinocchio type story. In a way,
definitely. But also
just like the world and everything. You haven't seen Bicentennial Man?
No. I have not seen it, bro.
Oh man, it's gonna get you in the feels. It's definitely like an emotional type of film. It's not really too much comedic in it. Okay. There are a few scenes and stuff like that where I think they'll just like put the camera on Robin, let him do his thing for a little bit.
Can you
But
blame
most
them?
of it is just like this journey of a
Yeah.
robot who becomes a little bit sentient. Then he's just like, what is the meaning of life? What is the meaning of existence? What is my purpose?
Mm,
And then he slowly, just
true.
over time, wants
Is
to
it
become a man.
is it better than Short Circuit? Because that is the definitive robot man
I
story.
prefer it more than Short Circuit.
What?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Does he say, like, Robin Williams is alive or something?
No, no, no.
And then he goes and finds Matt Damon
Then
or
he goes
whatever
and finds
happens
Matt
in
David, and
that
then he
movie.
then he starts talking to him, and he's like, "It's not your fault. It's I'm the robot. It's not
And
my
also,
fault either. I didn't kill the humans or the little kid."
and I'm also sorry because I have to go back to Neverland now, and then that's how that
Exactly.
ended. Oh, yes. No, that's
Oh.
cool.
But
Bicentennial
yes,
Man.
Bicentennial Man. It is like definitely a must watch of Robin Williams films. I know like critic reviews and stuff like that when it came out, a lot of people didn't really like it because it was very much a film where it was the entire time him being a bit more serious of a character, not much
Yeah,
of him
okay.
being improv. Because that's the it's like literally it starts off with him quite most of the time being like an actual robot. And then he's just like,
Mm.
wait a minute, like I'm becoming sentient and learning and stuff like that. And you see like the gradual progression of his entire life while everyone around him's dying, which is kind of sad in a way as
Oh,
well, because
poor
it takes
Robin
over like
Williams.
so many years. And he's just like, why is
Yeah.
everyone dying, but I'm still living? And it's just, it's kind of, yeah, it's kind of sad, like seeing that aspect to it all. Just
Wow, and
becoming like an
that's
immortal
really
man.
impressive,
And
especially
yeah,
because it's like the 90s take on the whole robot AI sort of
yeah,
sentience thing,
yeah, yeah.
which was booming in the 90s. This is where it
Oh,
started kicking
yeah.
off. Terminator hit it on the nail, and then the
Yep.
90s were like, "What if it, like, had feelings?" And then and then we ran with it ever
Exactly.
since,
Why
which
not?
is insane to think.
It is insane to
Okay.
think.
So now it's my number 4. I think I'm going to have to go with something a little different and pick what is probably one of my favorite like action chase movies. It's one of well, I'd probably say the greatest chase
The
movie ever
greatest chase
made.
movie ever made.
Yeah, I stand by that. It stars Harrison Ford and Tommy Lee Jones. It's called The Fugitive, and this is another masterclass in storytelling. Because the 90s, if it did one thing right, is it nailed the thriller, like,
Genre.
sense of motion. Yeah, it nailed the
Yeah,
thriller
yeah,
genre,
yeah.
and it nailed movies having a sense of momentum and
Yeah,
kept
yeah,
you going. And this is the prime example of something that does that.
yeah,
Because the plot in this movie is actually quite thin, if you
yeah,
think about it.
yeah,
But you're so engrossed in it because you're rooting for this main character so much throughout the entire 2-hour runtime. And you also really love the villain, Tommy Lee Jones. This is my favorite Tommy Lee Jones performance in this movie because he's
yep,
just
yep,
doing his job. He's
yeah.
not the villain. He's
No,
just like
he's just
like
like, I just need to do this. I'm just gonna find
the
Indiana
moment
Jones, you know?
everybody talks about in this film is the part where they confront each other in the sewer, I think. And Harrison Ford's character, usually in any movie, when the hero tells the villain, like, oh, I'm innocent, yada yada, it becomes this really heartfelt moment. But then you
Yep,
get the part where Harrison Ford does that, and Tommy Lee Jones is like, I do not care.
yep,
He chases
yep,
him no matter what, even if because he knew he was innocent. He thought he was innocent, but he is like, I'm just doing my job. I do not care. Yeah, I'm going to
yeah,
arrest you. And it's
yep.
such a great movie. I love it. And I've rewatched it plenty of times. So yeah, I'm picking The
Oh yeah,
Fugitive as my number 4.
yeah. That honestly might be like my most watched Harrison Ford film, besides like the Indiana Jones original trilogy, like
Yeah, either
and
those or
stuff like
Star
that.
Wars. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's up there. Done some
But yeah, where
bangers.
it was just like, well, out of like the franchise ones he did, that was definitely high up there on my list on Harrison Ford films
Yeah,
to
yeah,
like watch and recommend to people. Because like that's the thing, a lot of people
definitely.
would just like know Harrison Ford just for Star Wars and obviously
Yeah,
Indiana Jones. Where I'm just like, no, well, if you actually don't care or don't like them, go
it's
and watch The Fugitive. Like that's like
oh
one of his
yeah,
better films that he did like after all them, and it
so good.
still
Yeah.
holds up to this day. I was watching a behind
Yep.
the scenes the other day of I think it was Corridor Crew or whatever. They were actually like watching a visual effects thing on how they did composition of like visual effects for that film, and actually the
Yes, that's
technology
right.
they
Yep.
used for that, even by today's standards, is quite high and out there by what they had to
It's
do.
so good.
Yeah, yeah,
This movie is awesome in every aspect of it. I can't fault it at all. It's the best of its genre. It's the best of its
yep,
time.
yep.
And it also subverts the genre that so many films came from this in the first place. You know, it's like it started a thing, but it also did it so different. And I love this movie. So
Yes.
what's your number 4, Barry? No, sorry, your number
No,
5. You
5.
went
I'm on
first.
to number 5, yeah.
I
All
know
right, my
numbers.
number 5 is...
I'm your huckleberry.
Can you hear that?
I'm your
Did
huckle.
anything play?
Just my game.
Some of it played.
Some of it
I'm
played.
your huckleberry.
I'm your
there you go.
Huckleberry. It is The Great Tombstone. Obviously starring Val Kilmer as Doc Holliday, Kurt Russell, Sam Elliott. Bill Paxton was in this movie as well. Damn,
It was a lot of
a
cowboys.
phenomenal Western movie. This definitely has
It
to
is
be.
good.
It is absolutely great. Even though I think majority of it or something was like done by Kurt Russell because they had problems with their director. But
Yeah. Oh well.
you know, at the end of the day,
yeah.
it was like
film is-
definitely my favorite performance of Val Kilmer as Doc Holliday. Like just his dialect alone and his entire like character that they made for him was just like whoever wrote this film, and I'm pretty sure there was like a recent interview with Kurt Russell about this film and everything like that. Even he says this is probably the best well-written Western movie ever made. Just because of how well they did Doc Holliday's character. And that's he's only like the side character to it. He's not there that often
in it
when you
much,
watch the
no.
movie, but every single time you see him, he's just like, I'll be your
You love
Huckleberry.
it. I'm your Huckleberry. Yeah, it's
I'm your
great.
Huckleberry.
I will say this film I've only seen once. But I have seen lots about the making of it. It went through a lot of hell, and there was a Val Kilmer documentary film that came out a couple years ago that touched on it a little bit, had footage
Yep,
from the
yep.
showings and stuff, and that went into it really well. So I've got more of an outside look at it, even though I have seen it.
Yeah.
And it is a really good Western. There were very few good Westerns in the 90s. I can name 3 that are really good.
Yep.
And then that's about it. You know, it's and it's really clever considering you'd think that all of the good Westerns had been done by then. And a lot of people thought that until we got a movie like this.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, this is obviously, long past the decades of having Western films with John Wayne and everything like that. And then, these guys turned around and did it. Even as well without Clint Eastwood in it. Which was another thing. Didn't even need him. And then they were like, oh, we're just going to do this small little film called Tombstone starring Kurt Russell and Sam Elliott and a whole bunch of other people. And then, it's a simply wonderful film. That's the thing, because I only watched it probably like a couple years ago. And then like now it's become one of my favorite Westerns of all time. Like a lot of the Westerns that they made back when like that whole like decade, like 50s or 40s, 50s and 60s and stuff like that. Yeah. A lot of them now I'm just like, nah. Like a lot of the newer ones that they made more recently about Westerns and stuff like that, so much better done. So much better done.
Unless it's The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly or the No Name trilogy. Or something Clint Eastwood did, it's not good.
Yep. Exactly.
Maybe the Searchers, you know. But that's about it. Up until we get more modern ones, which I start to enjoy more too. Like Cowboys vs Aliens, remember that?
Oh, that was amazing. That was phenomenal. What a wonderful film.
You count Back to the Future 3 as a Western?
No, that's where we get a bit tricky. Kind of.
It's got Clint Eastwood in it.
It does have Clint Eastwood in it.
Kind of.
All
right.
What's going to be your number 5?
I am going to throw it on its head because this is a film that I don't own because I can't find it. It is a film.
I can't find it.
It's a film from 1997. It is an anime film, straight out of Japan. This is I think the only animated film on my list. It's called Perfect Blue.
Oh, okay.
Have you seen this film?
I have seen this film. I was getting very concerned for a second when you said anime film. I was just like, which one is he going to pick?
No, Perfect Blue. And for the fact of I did not know what to expect when I went into this film. I knew nothing of it other than to watch it. And it has quickly become one of my favorite animated films of all time. There's a bunch from this decade. Some other wackier ones that I will not mention. but I would like to have included, but I don't really want to spend 10 minutes talking about like Wicked City or something. So I'm putting Perfect Blue on here because it's so good and it's such a wacky film. It gives you the look inside the mind, surrealism of some wackiness that anime can do, but also this weirdly grounded storytelling despite it being weird. It's so well done and I love revisiting it. So yeah, Perfect Blue.
Yeah.
It's also fucking weird. So there's a fair warning.
Yeah, well that's the thing. It is a proper R-rated anime film. That is for certain. I think a lot of anime films when they were like went to like Western society and stuff, all of them I'm pretty sure are R-rated because they all have like nudity and stuff like that. It's probably the reason why they got people to watch them. Yeah, they're all horrible. Like they're all it's like amazing, but the animation style, and there's something about the 90s and animation style. And if we could talk about TV shows and stuff like that, you and I would both have to say the number one thing that Clayton and I love so much,
Pokemon.
Is Pokemon. Yeah, it's amazing. But no, is Cowboy Bebop, which is probably one of the best TV shows or any entertainment thing you want to think of. Just that is one of the perfect things ever made. Is Cowboy Bebop.
Oh god, yeah. That's funny because I had to look up what podcast. Date the Cowboy Bebop movie came out because I was going to use that as an
early
excuse.
2000s,
and it's 2001. So I'm
Yeah.
spewing because I would have loved to have talked about it more, but because it is like the greatest television show of the 90s. It's perfect media, and Perfect Blue is definitely up there with it. Films like Perfect Blue, Kira, Demon City, Shijunko, stuff like that are just absolutely insane, as well as the Ghibli stuff.
Oh yeah,
things like that. What's the one? Ghost in the Shell. That's 90s as well. Stuff like that. Really cool. Wasn't on my list, even though I did just think about it then.
Well, talking about anime, I suppose they can roll back into my number 6 then, because it is on my list. Is Ghost in the Shell.
Oh, I should have left it for you. I don't know why. Okay, never mind.
Well, that's the thing. That's what I said. Like when you started saying like anime film, I was like, wait a minute, did you fucking pick it?
Oh, you thought I was gonna pick?
Yeah, I thought you were gonna pick Ghost in the Shell.
I was gonna pick something fucked up.
No. Well, obviously, a lot of like anime movies were a bit fucked up, especially in the 90s ones. But yes, this was, I think, the first ever anime piece of media I ever watched or got into.
Wow.
Like early as a kid and stuff like that. And then ever since then, I was like, I have fallen in love with this genre, and especially the animation style. Like there's something unique about the 90s animation style that they just haven't been able to replicate. And that's why I go back and watch it every now and again. And I want to like do sample settings of like my own personal stuff to look like that. That would just be so cool. But this is what kicked off my insight into anime. Without Ghost in the Shell, I wouldn't have watched Cowboy Bebop, because I'm pretty sure it was like a year later I then watched Cowboy Bebop.
Wow. That's funny.
And I was a kid watching all this stuff as well. Like very
Ghost in the Shell is amazing. That would have messed with a younger person's mind.
Not the live action movie. Not the live action movie. We don't talk about that. But the original anime from 95. I actually watched it just like a couple days ago before we had the party. And it still holds up so well. And that's the thing. It's just the story for it about AI and everything like that. It's just so like unique
AI
way
90s.
of saying it. AI 90s. That's the thing. It was the 90s was the decade about AI. That's for sure. And it's just
we're doing it right now. It's great.
The subtle detail they put into these films, or the anime back in the 90s and everything, is phenomenal. Like, and this is the thing. This is a period where it was still all hand drawn as well. Coming out of that. And it was just like, what? Like, it's still that whole scene where she's fighting the spider crab. Spoilers, everyone, for Ghost in the Shell. Go and watch it, because it's simply there's a spider crab tank thing, and where she like has to pull out the mainframe. How close, the tearing of the arms and everything of like her skin and everything comes apart. That's all hand animated. All those little bits and bobs and the creation of her body as well, and it's phenomenal, even just visually. And the soundtrack. The soundtrack is simply wonderful as well. I'm pretty sure I have that as a playlist on Spotify.
I do not blame you, because you think about it, and it's like, this is an insane film. The 90s anime is such on another level. Because people did it by hand. I would kill to draw anything as good as that. Like a still image, let alone a whole ass movie. And then you get stuff like this, which I didn't actually watch until after I'd really gotten into anime. Ghost in the Shell was one that I got around to late, only like a year or two ago. Before that, it's like, I don't know, I'd seen Cowboy Bebop. I was really big into Yu-Gi-Oh as a kid, so I think that was my first forte. Was that television show?
This was my first one. I would have been like 6 or 7. And then obviously, I think it was like, I remember getting at the video store. I think someone might have put it in the kids section accidentally, not realizing what it actually was.
Doesn't it have like an M rating? My God.
Well, that's the thing. And then I was just like, that's a pretty good looking lady, not gonna lie, on the cover. And so I obviously pick it up. My parents didn't say anything. And then I remember watching it at home and just being like, wow, like that whole opening scene and everything like that. As like a 7-year-old watching this, I'm just like,
oh yeah,
whoa.
Jesus Christ, Barry, it's a drawing.
I was 7.
All right,
whatever. And then like from there, like it was just mainly from that, like the whole story behind it, and then the animation level, and then the actual soundtrack to it. Like I still get goosebumps every now. Well, when I do watch it, I still get goosebumps watching this film just because of the soundtrack alone. Like I think it was like on a video the other day I was watching on YouTube, someone was making a joke out of it, and they played like just a 3-second sting from the soundtrack of it where it was like, hey, ding. And I was like, what? Ghost in the Shell.
Scared. No, I love it. I love the world of it too. It takes, I'm pretty sure
stuff very much Blade Runner-esque and stuff like that. That's why I love it so much.
Yeah. And Japan ran with those things and created some of the coolest looking like dystopian sci-fi stuff we've ever seen. It's amazing. So that's a really good number 6. And I'm kind of glad that we both picked an anime film. We're getting kind of all of the genres here. We're hitting all of our target demographics. Our audience
what we
should
want.
at least be sort of pleased. Oh God. All right. Now what do I do? What do I follow that up with?
He's kind of struggling here, guys. He's kind of struggling. He's trying to figure it out. What's he gonna pick?
I'm gonna pick another film from my other favorite director of all time, apart from the Coen brothers, Wes Anderson. And I'm going to pick his best film. Arguably his best film, but my favorite of his films is 1990's Bottle Rocket. It's his first feature based off of a short film he did straight out of film school with 2 of his friends, Luke and Owen Wilson. And he made this amazing, heartfelt little comedy movie that I think holds up more than half of his other newer stuff, honestly, because it's not as crazy with the things. It's still got elements of what Wes Anderson does now, where all of the, just stylized for the sake of stylized, but Bottle Rocket was not that. Bottle Rocket was stylized because the story it was telling was quirky enough that it lent itself into that way. And I think it's probably his funniest film as well. It's so good. I love every element of this movie, and I watched it far into his discography. I'd seen pretty much half of his stuff.
Everything else,
everything, all of the bigger stuff at least. And then I was like, Bottle Rocket, this is his first one. All right, I'll check it out. And I'm like, holy shit, that's just so good. And because it's such a low budget film, it's definitely inspirational for us because it's like, I want to make this movie. I want to do Bottle Rocket now.
Well, this is the thing. You talk about being low budget. It still wasn't that low budget. It was still something between $5 and $7 million.
But I mean, it was a short film that he did on no budget. That led to it. It's still inspirational in that way. And he got to make it with his friends from film in high school. It's like it's very much an inspirational first film project because I really love it, and that's probably part of the reason why I love it so much is because of the fact it's his first. He was young, straight out of school sort of thing. It's very much where I want to be in like a couple years.
Yep.
So Yeah, so it's a
Yeah,
high
well,
up on
that's the
my
thing.
list because
It's
of that.
yeah, definitely like one of those like better starts because that's the thing. The premise of it is very simple. It's really like how well the dynamic is written between those characters
And the
in it. It
performances,
works out so well.
Luke and
And
Owen Wilson are
oh
great.
yeah,
This is
they are
Luke
phenomenal.
Wilson's best performance, I will say.
Yes, yeah.
Oh my
Because
god,
that's the
so
thing.
good.
It's literally just like three friends who were just like, let's go rob a bank.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that's basically
great.
the premise.
I love it.
And that's like, yeah, I
I
always love
love
like a good
simple stories.
robbery film and stuff like that.
Yeah, I want to
And
do one.
yeah, yeah, no, so do I. And it's just like, yeah, like just that premise alone. It's like it's very simple, and that's the thing. You can
Yeah,
fuck it up really easily, or you can make it really well. And this is definitely one of those films where it's like actually done very well. And yeah, definitely one of my more favorite Wes Anderson films. Um, I still prefer this more than that newer one he did, which I forgot now.
Asteroid City.
Asteroid City.
It's
Yeah,
better
I
than
prefer
Asteroid
Better Rock.
City.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. But it's a definitely up there. I'd probably put it equal with like Grand Budapest and Fantastic Mr.
yeah,
Fox.
yeah,
Like those three are like his top tier.
yeah.
So let's go watch
No, I
those
can
if you
definitely say that.
haven't, especially Bottle Rocket,
Yeah.
because yeah, it's an amazing film. So throwing it back to you for your number 7, I
Right,
think.
number 7.
Yeah.
Yes. So we're getting to the top 4 now. Ooh, okay. I'm still gonna keep with the whole animation side of things. Not anime, but animation. Just
Okay.
because obviously I've been doing deep dive into research on animation at the moment for a project that we're working on at the moment, everything like that. And I was just like, that's right. This movie came out in the late 90s, and I forgot how much of an inspiration this was, even to me as like a writer and stuff like that. It's a small film called The Iron Giant, which I suppose is not really
Oh
small
yes.
because it has a massive robot in it, and it is phenomenal still to this very day. The ethics and the
Yeah.
wholesome story that it tells about this space alien robot that wants to become Superman
It's
and then save
literally
the world.
Superman.
Yeah, I mean, literally Superman. And then yeah, it's just like in the background of I think it's the Cold War as well is
Yeah.
going on and everything, and everyone was like super hiatus. They thought it was like a nuclear Russian weapon. And it's just that the
Yeah.
whole kind of subtle backstory to it all, where you're just like following this kid and his adventures with his like supersized robot, voiced by Vin Diesel.
Yeah. This was the
Yeah.
start of Vin Diesel's like voice acting career. This was like his big
Yep.
thing.
Yep. Yep.
It probably led directly to stuff like him voicing Groot because
Yes.
he did such a good job on this.
Yep. Yep.
Like, it's crazy, and you don't think of it. You don't think of Vin Diesel when you see the Iron Giant. You think of the Iron Giant because he's such a well-written, well-performed character in this really adult-themed kids movie because it's very sad and it's very dramatic. There's a
Oh
lot
yeah.
going on in this film to unpack, and that's part of why it holds up so well
Yep.
over a bunch of other animated kids films from the time. Stuff like Toy Story, which I think doesn't hold up as well as something like this.
Yep. Yep.
This is on it's another level, and yeah, part of that is just the more adult storytelling too. The whole thing, I feel like.
Yes, yeah, no, it was definitely like a more mature approach to it all because I think the director,
Yeah.
Brad Bird, what did he do? Because he
Brad
was like, I
Bird.
don't think he
That
did
is
any.
familiar.
Yeah.
What's
Oh, so
that
he did
familiar?
The Incredibles, Incredibles 2, Ratatouille,
Yeah.
Mission
So all
Impossible 4.
oh,
Okay,
was that Fallout? Wait,
that was Ghost Protocol.
oh,
But
that's
yeah,
right.
he
I
did The
like that.
Incredibles. He did The
Yeah, that's
Incredibles.
why. Because
He
all
did
of those
Road
ones
to El Dorado as well.
oh, that's a great film.
That's a great
That's an
movie.
awesome film. Oh, I love that one. They're all good ones, and they're all well
Yeah,
written
yeah.
because none of like all of those films you listed are not really kids' movies. I mean,
No,
they
they
are,
definitely have that more mature approach to their
but they're
story.
mature,
I think that's the
which is
reason
the
why they do
best
so well.
kids' films. The best
Yeah,
kids'
yeah.
films are the ones that are not for kids. I don't know
Yes,
how other to
yes.
say that. It's true, and it's definitely the ones that stick with you the longest. Like the Iron Giant. The fact you're talking about it now,
Yeah,
the fact we're
yeah.
both talking about it now, it says a lot to
Yeah,
the
no,
movie.
definitely. Like out of all like childhood like kid films, what I remember the most and had the most impact on me is definitely Iron Giant. Like
Yeah.
every single like time I think of a kids film, that's the first thing that comes to mind.
Wow.
Like being animation wise, not Toy Story, nothing like that.
No,
Is
no. Yeah, yeah.
Iron Giant?
Wow. Mine's Cars. I think
Yeah,
Cars, because I'd watch that so
I
many
saw
times
that
as a
at
kid.
cinemas.
See, I was 3 when it came out, and I think we had it on like DVD, like it was one of the first like things that we'd ever gotten, and it was insanely watched. So that's definitely
Yeah,
up there,
yeah,
especially with like Road to El Dorado. That's such a funny
yeah,
movie.
yeah.
I love that film. Like I love that more now than I did as a kid because it's so funny. So yeah, I'm very glad you picked that one.
Nice.
And now I'm stalling because I don't know what to follow that up with.
Well, that's the thing. I'm down to my 4. Well, even though I got 3, but I've still got 4 on my list. I hope
Yeah.
there's one on there that you pick so I can talk about 3 others.
Okay. All right. All right. Okay. I'm going to pick a film from 1998. Um, I'm writing the title down. It's a long one. Give me a second. There we go. It's on my thing. It's by oh my god, this is probably my favorite like Irish movie ever made. It's called Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels. I'm not sure if
Yep,
that was
yep.
on your list. Was
No,
that on
no, it
your list?
wasn't.
No,
No.
it wasn't. This is one of my favorite action movies. One of my
Yeah.
favorite European films. One of my favorite Irish films.
Yep.
It's insanely good because it's I think it's a perfect movie and it handles momentum in a way like The Fugitive,
Yes. Yeah,
as
yeah,
in
yeah.
there is not a dull moment of this film. This
No,
film has
there is not.
long sections of characters talking, yet it's the most
It's not
like
boring.
entertaining
Yeah.
dialogue you've ever heard. You're
Yep.
glued to the screen because every single character in this film is amazing. They're all
Yeah.
so well
Yeah.
written and well performed, and I love every single
Because
aspect
it
of this
was
film.
written by Guy Ritchie and then he directed it as well, didn't he?
Yes, I think so. Yeah, yeah, because
Yeah. Yeah.
he has always hated the fact that he's never written anything as good.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
always been something he said is he wishes that he could do something as good as that, and the fact that
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
can't is annoys him because this
Yep.
is such a well done movie, and I think it was like his first. It was his
Yeah.
first
No,
big
this was
hit.
his first ever big hit film that he did.
Yeah,
Before this, he was just doing like small side stuff and everything like that,
yeah,
like little short
and
films. But yeah,
to
this is
come
his
out
first
with
ever thing.
that,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's phenomenal.
absolutely.
This is why I love Guy
Oh
Ritchie
god,
films, is
yeah.
because of this film.
And this is another one where I really want to read the screenplay, but I haven't
Yep.
gotten around to it, and I definitely
Yep.
will because I love it. This film, is probably the biggest inspiration on dialogue for
Yeah.
me,
Yep.
just
Yep.
because
Yep.
of how well it's done. Things like that stick with me, and it's why I'm such a stickler for dialogue, and I bring it up
Yeah.
so many times. And you know that I
Oh
do
yeah,
that
I know you do.
because if dialogue has to flow well, when it
Yeah.
doesn't, the movie doesn't work. Whatever you're watching doesn't work, and this works so well that it's an action film with actually not that much action when you think about it,
No, no, there's not.
but
It's mainly just like
dialogue
talking
that's
and getting
yeah,
around to places.
the talking and getting around is just as, if not more entertaining than the
Yeah.
amazing action in this film. It is so good. And it's really funny because I watched this on TV the first time that I watched it. It was on like
Yeah.
SBS or something when I was like 10. And I was enthralled. I was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. And I've rewatched it so many times since. And I wish I have it on DVD, but I don't, so I can't pull it from my collection. So that sucks. But yeah,
Yeah,
that's my
no.
number 7.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a good number 7. Well, that's the thing. Like any Guy Ritchie film, I really enjoy. Like especially the ones he has more control over. It's ever
Yeah.
since he did Lock, Stock. Like his just the pacing of his films are so well done, and the way he like
Oh, yeah.
edits them and gets them together and stuff like that. Because there's the King Arthur film that he did. I actually really enjoy that. I know a lot of people don't like it and everything
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
I think just the story of it all was just a bit but the actual like
Yeah.
pacing and the characters he was trying to build,
Oh, he's
I
great
like
with
it.
pacing,
It was so well done. And that's the thing
Yeah.
with that movie. I feel like maybe if he was given more creative control and maybe there might have been a director's cut that he
Yeah.
had or something like that, because this felt a lot of things were
Probably,
out of
yeah.
place of that film where like they just got taken out like large segments where I'm just like,
Yeah.
we were supposed to know that type thing.
No, that's true.
But like every one of his films, or the same thing he carried into The Man from U.N.C.L.E. When he did that
Yeah.
with Henry Cavill
And
and
that
stuff
was
like that.
I
It's the
really
same
love
type of
that.
pacing, and it's the editing style. Whoever he gets to be his editor, I'm not sure if the same person since Lock, Stock, but maybe it's just
Yeah.
him being like that. That's how I want it type thing. It's just so well done. Like this thing, the pacing of his films are so well done.
Yes. I feel like he's a god of pacing. This movie is honestly debatable honestly, debatably has the greatest pacing of any movie ever
Yep.
because it all flows so well. I'd put it up there with. I think it has better flow than Pulp Fiction, and I think Pulp Fiction is perfect, but I think
Yep.
this one just flows better. This is like just like a river that has nothing in its way. It just keeps going, and it's
Yep. Yep.
consistently good. There's not a single pebble in that river, and
Yep.
I love it. So yeah, God, what are you gonna follow
All
that one up
right.
with?
Fucking hell. Well,
What's on
I'm on
your
to
list?
my last three, but I have
Yeah, this is where it
four
gets
left
tough.
on my list, and this is some of the four biggest films to me anyway. One of them I am keeping on there because that just means so much to me. But it's just like these
Okay.
other three I'm looking at. I'm just like, I don't know what to pick next because the one I picked now is like it's gone forever type thing. The other one. I am going to go back to the late 90s, 1999. A small film. You might have heard of it. It's called The Mummy.
Oh,
Um,
really?
yes, yes.
This wasn't on my list. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh,
This still has to be one of my favorite action adventure films of all time. I put this
oh yeah.
up there with Indiana Jones, like the original
It's
Indiana
good.
Jones trilogy. This is peak Brendan
Mm.
Fraser. This is
Oh,
like
yes.
peak Mummy. Like this is the best Mummy film ever made. Like
That's not a high
nothing
bar, but
true,
yeah.
but still, like doing like monster movies and everything like that. This is definitely like all the way at the top.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that's the thing. It's even as well when they did the sequel and everything like that. Like they couldn't match what they did for the first
No,
film. There is something about
didn't
this
need
film.
one.
When I go back
Mm.
and watch it, it still holds up. Obviously, not
It
so
does.
much the visual effects and stuff like that, but there wasn't a lot of them. There's only like a couple scenes and stuff like that. But just like the story of what they were doing, the characters' performance, and like the dialogue between and
Yes.
interaction the actors had
Mhm,
with one
mhm.
another and everything like that, so well done. And it has
Also
that bit
really
of
funny.
comedic
Like,
charm as
yeah.
well to it throughout it. And it's just
Oh,
like,
I
this is
love it.
perfect. And that's why I put it on par with the original Indiana Jones films. Is because it's like that same type of level where like they hit the comedy right and they also hit the adventure right in a way.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
like no other adventure films have ever been able to replicate it since this film. I would say this is like the last like best action adventure film of this type of genre. Like
Yeah.
that's done it
Yep.
well. And what it's
Yeah.
been
Too long.
over
It's
20
Maybe
years.
24 years if it was
24
99.
years. Holy shit.
But yeah, no, it definitely it's like Indiana Jones and then it's like The Mummy, you know?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And then there's nothing else. Nothing
Yeah.
else worth your
Nothing
time.
else. No.
Because these two sets of films nailed it. You
Yeah.
nail it
Yep.
first try. It's like, what's everyone else gonna do, you know? The
Yep.
Mummy, it's Brendan Fraser's best performance. Like this put him on the map as the
Yes.
action
Yes.
guy. It led
Yep.
him to do, I don't know, well, like Journey to the Center of the Earth and a whole bunch of other films that I can't remember right now.
Yep.
But it's his best, and it's just
Yeah.
so well done, and it's a charming, funny movie. And again, it's
Yeah.
another one that I rewatched so many times as a kid,
Yeah.
and have always gone back to because it just holds up. It
Yep.
doesn't get old. It's because it's
I
good.
know, and even his character name, Rick O'Connell, sounds like something you're reading out of an adventure book and
Oh,
everything
it's
as well.
100%.
And it's just like
Yeah.
I actually kind of wouldn't mind reading the screenplay for it to see if it reads like an actual like adventure book in some form
Yeah.
of way. I reckon that would be pretty cool.
It probably would, and you quite often find that with a lot of
Yeah,
writers.
yeah,
When the movie is stylized, the script is quite often stylized the same, so that you read it how it looks. And I'm sure that this movie is at least one of them. It's probably written, yeah, like an old-timey adventure thing. Probably same sort of way that Indiana Jones was written.
yeah, yeah,
Um, and that kind of always mystery, always adventure, and it's great.
yeah.
So that's your number 8. What's my number 8? That's the
Ooh,
real
what's
question.
your number 8?
All right.
The hard-hitting
Ooh,
questions.
Jesus Christ. Too many options. Ah. All right. I crossed that one off. I picked that one. Uh. Okay. I'm gonna go back to 1990 in what I think is one of the greatest Arnold Schwarzenegger movies of all time. Schwarzenegger did a lot in the 90s. After Terminator, after Conan, the 90s was his big time. We had things like
Yes. Yep.
Kindergarten Cop, the other ones, and then we had
Turbo
Total
Man
Recall.
and Total
Turbo Man.
Rico.
I like Turbo Man. I forgot that was a film, but I like Turbo Man. But
And
Jingle All the
Total
Way as well.
Recall.
Total Recall. The
Yeah.
best of. This is probably peak Schwarzenegger, honestly. Because
yeah. No, that's definitely like my number one pick for his films.
Yeah, it's also like one of the best sci-fi films of the 90s. Total Recall does pretty much everything that like Blade Runner did before it, but kind of in a different way. I feel like this is the equivalent, like if Blade Runner's that film for the 80s of that sort of type, I feel like Total Recall's that film from the 90s.
Yeah,
If
that's
that
the
makes
thing.
any sense.
It's a pretty weird like world they were trying to like build in it.
I love it.
And that's the thing. Like, actually, recently talking about Total Recall, a recent new episode of Rick and Morty played tribute to Total Recall about the stomach creature thing. Like everyone had one of them. And that's the thing. It's such a weird, strange, wacky film.
It's so
and
good.
like every single time I remember, all I remember is the weird stomach creature. And then like when they're out on Mars and becoming all funny and stuff like that, the eyes exploding. Yeah.
But it's also like some amazing visual effects and special effects for the 90s.
Yes.
Everything in this movie looks great and holds up really well. Like even the wacky stuff looks good. You know, all the
most of it was
people
practical effects. So anytime you do that, it will hold up.
So good. I definitely recommend checking it out because again, it's one that people don't really talk about that much. Everyone knows of it, but when you think of Schwarzenegger, you don't really think of it, at least not straight away.
And that's the thing. Even the story for it is just like it has that open ending
Is he on Mars? I don't know.
Is he on Mars? Was it all real? Was this all in his head? That's the mystery of it all as well. And that's the same thing I think why you compare it to Blade Runner so much, because Blade Runner had that open-ending meeting as well. Like, is he an AI or is he not? You know?
No, he's not. But anyway,
depends on who you ask for that film. Fucking hell, Blade Runner is a whole mystery question. Don't ask the director. He says yes. Harrison Ford says no. The writer says no. So always go with the writer. Always go with the writer.
Always go with Harrison Ford.
Yeah, always go with Harrison Ford. Otherwise, he'll punch you in the face like he did with Ryan Gosling.
That's fair.
That's fair. That's fair.
All right, Total Recall is my number 8.
Total Recall, number 8. Yeah, that's good. I'm glad that's on the list. All right, it's getting hard now. I'm going to have to push one of my films out that I was originally going to put on there, but no, we're coming down to the final 2, and I want to add these final 2 on there. I'll add the other one as a memorable movie. Honorable mention.
There is a lot.
Yes, my number 9 pick. I have to put this in our list, and I was really hoping you would pick it earlier, but it is going to be another one from 1998, Saving Private Ryan. Probably the best World War II film ever made. Showing Normandy, showing everything. Another one with Matt Damon. Tom Hanks is one of his best performance in any movie I have ever seen. One of Spielberg's best films he ever did, and still to this very day, still holds up so well. This movie, and it's such a phenomenal film about World War II and just like the small journey about saving Private Ryan. That's literally about finding this one guy and everything like that, and just following the performances of, like, because that's the thing, it had such a big cast in it as well, like Tom Sizemore, Vin Diesel.
I forget Vin Diesel.
A whole bunch of others. Yeah. He dies in it. Spoilers.
He does.
A lot of people die in this film. And that's the thing. Like, you're watching with all these crew and these guys, and it's just like, they all die.
Yeah, it is great. It's honestly probably, I'd say, the best Spielberg film, at least from my personal perspective. I mean, look, it got 5 Academy Awards in just about every category you can think of. It is the definitive movie for like is the lives of a few worth the lives of many sort of thing.
Yes,
that whole idea. This film does that perfectly. Tom Hanks kills it. This is the greatest war movie ever made, just in general. Because it is insane. The movie came out and veterans were literally crying in the cinema. It's an impactful, intense film. And I watched it way younger than I should have. But I'm so glad that I did because it's stuck with me ever since I was like 8 or something when I watched this movie.
Yep.
And I've just been fascinated by this kind of storytelling ever since. Of every single person in this movie feels like they can die. The
Yeah.
stakes in this film are some of the highest you'll ever see in a war. It really puts you into the boots of someone who's not sure if they're going to live until the next day and not sure if what
Oh
they're
yeah.
doing is really worth it. Going out
Yep.
to save one guy, where 20 other guys die just for the sake of it. It's insane. And also has like the greatest like effects and background work and war scenes of any movie
Oh
ever.
yeah.
I mean,
Well, they
the
like fully recreated Normandy and
yeah,
stuff like that. That whole beginning sequence where they're going on to Normandy, how surreal that is. Just watching that, even by
insane.
today's standards, it's just like,
And that's
holy, is this actual
that's the
footage from
opening of
Normandy?
the film.
That's
And
the
people
opening of
thought
the
that.
film. Yeah.
People were genuinely concerned, like at that scene,
Yep.
and that's
Yep.
the opening of the
Yeah.
film. It is such a powerful opening. I don't think there's a better opening to a war movie ever. Like, like
Yeah. Yeah.
it's insane, and it set the stage for so many, and it made the careers of everyone in this film definitely because everyone kills it.
Yep.
So good. This is Vin
So good.
Diesel's best performance. And he went on to do like I don't know, Fast and Furious like an idiot. But
I mean,
Saving
it still
Private
makes
Ryan,
money.
I guess, yeah. But no, that's a great fucking choice. I would have picked
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
but I'm glad you did because then I can pick something
Good.
else wacky.
Cool. Cool. Cool.
Da, da, da. All right,
Well,
my number 9.
what's your number 9, good sir?
Oh, now this is getting really tough because
It
I've got
is.
lots of movies that I
Yeah.
want to pick. Um, but I think I'm going to have to pick something else, another one that's quite different. Um, Starring Johnny Depp, and it came out in 1998. It's called Fear and
Aha.
Loathing in Las Vegas, and it is
Yes.
the greatest Vegas comedy movie ever made. This
Yeah,
film
it is literally the best like Vegas movie
is
ever
wacky.
made.
It is, and it's
How
so
much for the
good.
monkey?
The bats are watching me. The bats, everywhere. It's so
Oh.
good, and it holds up really well, and I
Yeah.
highly
Yeah.
recommend watching this film
Yep.
under any circumstances because it is so good. Um, like I don't think Johnny Depp has done a better movie than this one because he's so charismatic and
Well, that's the thing.
quirky in this
I
film.
would say they'll probably just like Johnny, like literally do what you want to do, play as a
And
guy
then they
on drugs, and they'll just
gave
like
him a
just
bunch of
film it,
drugs.
just film it, just film
Yeah.
it.
That's what it feels like. It feels like they just gave a bunch of guys some drugs and filmed him
Yeah.
for 2 hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's the funniest, wackiest shit you'll ever see, but it's
Yes.
so
Yes, it
good.
is.
I love it.
Oh yeah, no, I love it too. That's definitely like my top 5 Johnny Depp films, and Johnny Depp's like one of my favorite
number
actors
1,
of
yeah.
all time.
It's my number 1.
Yeah, yeah. It's just like it's so wacky. That's right. It's also got Benicio del Toro in it as well as he's like friend
Everyone in
and
this
stuff like
movie. Yeah,
that.
that's right.
Oh, it's
So
just like yeah, so
So
great, so
good.
great, so good.
Oh, yes. Definitely watch it. Everyone
Definitely.
go watch the movie. That's your homework for the podcast.
Yeah, we're giving
We
people
did our-
homework now. All right,
We're basically
go watch more
yeah,
movies.
watch
Which
the
ones we
movies.
recommend?
All of the movies. Every movie ever made. Go watch it right now
Yes, yes.
at the same time.
Well, I suppose I should give my final one for the night,
Oh shit!
which
Final
is
one.
final one for tonight, which is
Ugh.
it was kind of hard because there's so many great films in the 90s, but this
Yeah.
movie has to be probably my favorite film of the 90s as a writer, as a filmmaker. How much
Again.
homage I've paid to this, and you know this because of a project we're working on at the moment. It will be in 1999. A small film came out done by David Fincher, who is slowly becoming one of my favorite directors of all time now. Is a small film called Fight Club. If you haven't heard of it.
What?
Yeah,
We're not supposed to talk about that
We're not
one.
supposed to
Yeah.
talk about Fight Club.
God damn it, Barry.
God damn it.
First rule of Fight Club. I don't know.
Yep,
Treat others
already.
the way you want to be treated. It's a great
and then
film,
smack
Barry,
him
please.
around. Yes.
Talk about it.
Oh, yes. So, yeah, this probably has to be one of the best films ever made, and definitely that subverting of genre of being like, well, I think it was the first ever film to be like, well, guess what? Brad Pitt, spoilers, he's not actually there. Spoilers.
What?
Edward Norton's character doesn't actually have a name. He was the narrator. He was
he's
hitting
insane.
himself. It is insane, this film. Had a young Jared Leto in it, getting his face beaten the fuck up.
Good.
Had Meatloaf. Meatloaf's in it.
I love Meatloaf in this film. This is my favorite Meatloaf performance. Not that that's like a category people speak of often.
No,
it's like he's
got the
great
man
in this
boobs.
movie.
Man boob.
He does. He does have sweaty man boobs.
Yeah, but no, it's just the whole like idea of this film. I remember the first time I watched it, like I didn't know anything about it. I would have been like 8, 9, something like that. And then just being like, oh yeah, no, there's this guy. And then like along comes Brad Pitt. Because already by that time, I already knew who Brad Pitt was because of a couple other films.
And stuff like that. Brad Pitt. I knew Edward Norton from the Hulk, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I didn't. I think this is the first ever Edward Norton film I actually like remember like actually watching him in it. Yeah. I don't think I watched any. No. I watched this first before the Hulk.
That's kind of surprising.
Yeah. And then being just like, oh, this is going to tell this story about this guy who's like kind of bumming and then meets Brad Pitt and then turns into this whole like, oh, they're doing like a cult thing now and stuff like that and punching people and then more people joining part of it and then doing like punching around the people. And then it turns out the whole thing was just in his head the entire time and he was the one in control. Yeah. It's a bit wacky. But
it's great.
Even now, I watched it, earlier this year again, and actually a couple of weeks ago, after watching The Killer, because, David Fincher. I was just like, on a David Fincher high. So I was just like, I'm going to watch Fight Club again. And just, how well it was written. And whoever the writer was, the story was done by Chuck Palahniuk, because there's actually a book called Fight Club or something like that. And then they turned it into a screenplay.
But it's different.
Yeah, it's a little bit different. I don't think they have the whole wackiness to it. And then, actually, like, finding out at the end that Brad Pitt's character wasn't actually real. And this is the thing, because I still remember distinctly that Brad Pitt was a big actor more than Edward Norton was at the time and everything like that. Especially even when I watched this, Brad Pitt was like at the highlight of his... Yeah, it's still true today. And then being like, he's kind of like the side character for this one. And everything like that. It's good. Like it works out so well. Like the Tyler Durden character is so amazing. So great. Like it's kind of like just goofy. And then watching like the behind the scenes of this film and then like watching it again and like picking up all the little scenes where he like inserts himself in and stuff like that. Because only a quick glimpse and the actual like meaning behind this film and stuff like that is just like it's phenomenal. This is definitely like one of those films, even though the payoff the first time you watch it is phenomenal, but you can actually go back and rewatch it again because of the subtle little clues all throughout it. You notice things afterwards and you're just like, what? Like, wow.
I know. Because the first time I watched it, I picked up on some of the extra things enough for me to want to rewatch it. I was like, hang on, what was that just flashed in the background? Did I just see that or did I like blink or something? And then after rewatching and hearing about it and reading all these things, because I went into it blind, I knew that it had a plot twist and that was about it. So when it actually happened, I was like, holy shit, that's so good. It's so impressive. And it also got me into the Pixies. So I thank it for that because I love the Pixies. And this movie's great. I mean, again, it has inspired a lot of things that I've done and that are working on. Like the short film that I just made, Substitute, is I wanted to do the flickering in the background like Fight Club.
Like
that was the original plan. It didn't end up doing that because that didn't really work how I wanted it to. But like that was the idea. It was like I want to do the Fight Club thing. And and when you mentioned Brad Pitt being the side character in it, despite being the bigger actor, I love when movies do that, where you love the side character more than the main character. It quite often is the best kind of story when the main dude's just some kind of normal guy, but he's got this wacky person going on an adventure with him. It's absolutely insane. Quite often, like the Big Lebowski's that to a certain extent as well. The characters around him are wackier. The dude.
And this is the other thing as well. Like going back to actually when this film came out, which I didn't know about, but apparently when it first came out, people didn't like it.
No, this kind of flopped. It took a while, and that's quite common with Fincher, especially because this was kind of his biggest break. is it took a little bit for it to take off, for people to get it. I don't think people were ready for it
Yeah, well, he did
until
7
people had
before
seen it.
this.
Yeah, was 7 was a
Yeah, so he did
bigger.
he did Alien 3, then
Yeah.
7, and then he did this.
See, I think even 7 wasn't that big, like box office wise. Really, was I
No,
did it?
no.
It might have won some awards, but I don't think it was that commercially successful. At least at first, I'm not quite sure. I
Well,
might be
box office
messing
was
up.
327 mil. So
That's pretty good. I mean, what was the? Yeah. I
that's still pretty
suppose.
good. And then Fight Club's box
Yeah.
office was
Probably. Mm.
only just over 100.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Yeah. Well.
yeah,
Okay. I mean, it's definitely more of a weirder film than 7. That's for sure. But
yeah.
it's a good film. I
It's a
like it.
good film. I love it. Well, that's the thing. Like the characters written in this, and you'll find this when I do write my stories and stuff like that. A lot of my stories that I do,
Really,
especially
though.
original, are really based upon like what was written and done in this movie. That's how much of an inspiration they've had, and especially Brad Pitt's character in it is very similar to a lot of characters I like to write for and everything
Oh,
like
really,
that.
though.
Oh, really, Clayton?
Yes. No. And because it's such a great dynamic and it works really well.
Yeah, yeah.
It, it's perfect. So yeah, Fight Club as your
Fight Club.
final film.
Yes.
See, now that it comes back to me after you doing that, I think there's only one other film from the 90s that can top that as a final film for a final list. And it is from 1994, and this is a lot of people's best movie ever made, greatest film of all time, the greatest storytelling of all time, starring Tim Robbins and Morgan Freeman. It's The Shawshank Redemption. It is
Yeah.
the greatest prison movie ever made. It is the
Yep.
greatest like brother film ever made. It
Yep.
is like sometimes I think it's the greatest film ever made because it
Oh yeah,
is
a
a
lot of people say that.
masterpiece.
Yeah.
'Cause it's a masterpiece. It
Yeah.
is so well written, and it is long as fuck. It is
Oh yeah.
284 minutes, but it is
Wow. Okay.
insanely good.
It doesn't feel like that when you watch it. It just goes by that quick because it's
No,
how well
and
it's all done.
I'm reading it from the back. I can confirm 284 minutes.
Damn.
Like, it is insane. Do you want me to read a quote from Roger Ebert, who is one of the most critical, like, critics in movie history, from 1999? He says that The Shawshank Redemption absorbs us and takes away the awareness that we are watching a film. Watching the film again, he admired it even more than the first time he saw it. That first part of the quote is spot on, and that goes into the runtime of this film is long as, but it doesn't feel like it
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
the movie's so good. I think this is literally some of the best writing ever made, and I highly recommend the screenplay.
Oh yeah.
It is insanely good. It's so hard to write anything half as good as just
Yes.
a
Yep.
single character in this film.
Yep. Yep.
And I love it so much because everything fits, everything makes sense, everything works, but it also surprises you and it makes you cry and it makes you laugh, and it's an insane movie because I don't think anything else like it has done anywhere near as good as
No.
Shawshank.
No. No. And that's the thing, like
No.
all the time when you ask people like what their favorite movies are and stuff like that, how
People say
often
Shawshank.
this
Yeah.
film comes up, like all the time. And that's the thing, because it
It's
is
up there.
simply great. It's a wonderful, wonderful film. And it's a very serious type of film as well. Like this
Oh,
guy
it's
like
so
going in
serious,
for
but
like
it's also
murdering his
heartfelt.
wife and stuff. Yeah, it's very
Yeah.
heartfelt.
And it's got this kind of, yeah, definitely a huge overtone of drama, sadness. It
Yes.
is a
Yep.
very melancholic film, but it's also
Yep.
got this spark in it that you cling onto, much like the main character does. The film itself embodies that same mentality of
Yep.
there's a spark of hope, and it runs with it
Yeah. Yeah.
in a way that's hard to describe because of how well it's done, how well it's written. And it's probably the best Stephen King thing either, like best Stephen King movie,
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
well because it's based off the book, which I haven't read the book, but I heard it's good. But I heard that the movie is better
Well, we
So
know the movie's better, so
yeah,
we've seen
well,
it.
we don't know because I haven't read it, but the movie is perfect. Like,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't think there is a movie that can be as classed as perfect as Shawshank Redemption. And I
Yes,
know that
yeah.
I've said a lot of movies on this list, especially today, are amazing and perfect and couldn't be improved. Well, this one takes the cake of amazing and
Yeah,
perfect and
I
couldn't
don't
be
think you
improved.
can improve this film. Like, there's
No,
nothing at all that is just
if you
like,
take a frame out and you've ruined it, like
yeah, yeah.
this movie is perfect as it is, and I'm so glad that it exists because it is a huge inspiration on every single thing that I've written
And I
and
think it
watched.
is still like the most viewed movie to play like on television as well or something
Yeah,
on live television.
that wouldn't surprise me, but
Um,
that's also kind of weird considering how long it is.
yeah, yeah.
But maybe that's why, because they're like, we can fill a whole slot with it, like a whole.
Maybe.
Because that with ads, that's like a whole day worth of TV, right?
Yeah.
You have like 10 minutes of ads every 20 minutes of Shawshank. That's a 10-hour movie.
Well, it's something
Like,
as well. I was reading, this was a couple years ago now. The guy who just plays the who's the guy in charge of the prison? What do you call it? The warden. The warden.
yes.
The guy who just plays his character still gets like a multi-million-dollar paycheck every single year because of how
Wow.
often this movie's paid. Just his character.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's insane. Can you imagine
Yep.
like what Morgan Freeman's getting for it or Tim Robbins?
Oh, well, that's the thing. Tim Robbins didn't do anything after this.
Yeah.
He did
He didn't
absolutely
need to.
nothing. He didn't need to.
He killed it in this movie. Like every single person in this movie is great. This is my favorite Morgan Freeman performance as well. And that's saying something because Morgan Freeman's great in everything. Even if it's a bad movie, Morgan Freeman's great. But this is
Yeah.
another level, man.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
it's
that's the thing. I think
insane.
it's the #1 rated film on IMDb still.
I think you're right because I think
Yeah.
it deserves that spot.
Yeah.
I honestly think it's not my favorite film, but that doesn't
No,
mean that
no.
it's not the best film because I
Yeah.
honestly do think it deserves greatest film ever made or at least recognition for that. So I am very glad that I got to end my list on it.
Yes. Yeah, no, that's a phenomenal movie to end out the 90s on. That's for sure. And that's the thing, there were so
I
many
think so.
great movies from the 90s. I was going to say another one I was going to
Ooh,
mention
yes,
was
throw your list.
Unforgiven. I
I
had
got that
on
one
there.
here. That one's
Yeah,
there.
that's
That's a good
definitely one of
one.
my favorite like Western films of all
That's
time.
the second of the 3 good westerns of the 90s.
Yes, yes. And then like Batman and Robin. That's amazing.
I actually
the
do have that
Rocketeer.
DVD, but it's over
Um,
there. I'm not getting it.
Yeah. And obviously, like Star Wars
Rocketeer's
came
good.
out in the late 90s, Phantom Menace and everything like that. Still not
That's
not
it.
great, but it came
It
out.
wasn't on my list. It did
Definitely
come
wasn't on my
out.
list. A Few Good Men, Primal Fear, A Bronx Tale, The
Yep.
Game, Absolute Power, Last of the Mohicans. Shit, I forgot about that. I forgot about that.
That's true.
Yeah, Fargo, Leon.
I got that one. I love Fargo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll throw some more out there. The Matrix.
Yes,
The
yes.
Doors, another really great Val Kilmer one. 12 Monkeys.
Yep.
Barton Fink, another Coen Brothers one I really love. Groundhog Day, one of the best Bill Murray movies. Schindler's List, like one of the greatest stories. Another Spielberg one, and it's
Another
just as
Spielberg one.
amazing.
Yep.
Reservoir Dogs, Usual Suspects. What else have I got? Terminator 2. That was 91. Like, that's one of the greatest action films ever made, and we didn't mention it. That shows the quality of just the list. Jacob's Ladder was 1990, and it's still one of my greatest friggin' sci-fi internal looking. It's great. Yeah, Jurassic Park, 93.
Yeah.
Like, what? Like, I am shocked that I didn't mention that because that is honestly, like, the best film that I'd seen as a kid. Like, Jurassic Park was the coolest thing ever up until I was, like, 15.
Yeah.
Mortal Kombat from 95. Street Fighter.
Yep.
Predator 2 was 90. From Dusk Till Dawn, one of my favorite Tarantino collaborations. That's on there. Just so much movies. Heat. Everything. Yeah, everything came out in this year. This decade. It was an insane year.
Yeah. That was an insane year.
Decade. I keep saying year.
Oh, even James Mangold's Copland came out. I didn't even mention one of his films. God damn it. I feel like I've betrayed
There was a
him.
lot we didn't mention.
Yeah,
And there's
yeah.
a lot that were not on the list because I I ran out of room to
Oh, yeah.
write
Yeah.
names of films on the piece of paper that I got.
Oh, yeah.
So,
But I feel like
oh,
that is going to be the end of our
good.
90s podcast. So
I'm
thanks
going
for
to
all
bed.
joining, everyone. Clayton's going to bed.
Yeah.
There's the
You
button.
playing? Is it working?
Is it
I
working?
can't hear it.
I can't hear it either.
We're doing a cappella version.
I like how this was all working earlier, and then like all of a
Was it?
sudden now it's just like, hey, guess what? I'm not gonna work anymore, so you're just gonna have to like do your thing. And now it's just like everything's broken and it's horrible. And
All right, see you guys next time.
see you next time. Thanks for coming out. Stay tuned wherever we are. All the things, we're all there.
I don't remember
Clayton's doing
how the theme
acapella.
song goes. I don't remember
I'll
how
add
it
it in
goes.
post.
You can. I'm not going to.
All right. Thanks for joining, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Bye.